Okay, good morning. We went ahead and did this warm up today in functions. So go ahead and hit pause, and I'd like you to try it. The piece of advice that I gave all students was that you should try rewriting it if you can. Try just evaluating it. So you might want to go from maybe this one. Where's mine? There it is. Go from exponential form to radical form. So remember, radical form has a radical in it. Or maybe go from this radical form to exponential form. All right, so go ahead and try this. I'm going to put the answers in a couple minutes, but go ahead and hit pause and try it. Okay, so the first one is just 5 times the square root of 36. Well, the square root of 36 is 6. And then, so we get 5 times 6, which is 30. And then the second one, so remember our power belongs to everything inside the parentheses, so that means that negative is going to go underneath the radical. So we do the cube root of negative 64, and the cube root of negative 64 is negative 4. And then this one, I rewrote in exponential form, so we all know what to do when it's x squared times x to the third, we would get x to the fifth, right? We add the exponents. So I'm going to do that here, so I get x to the 2/3 times x to the 1/3, and that's going to be equal to x to the 2/3 plus 1/3, which is x to the 3/3, which is just x to the first power. So that answer is just x. And then this one, remember the power just belongs to the x, and the 29 is going to go on the outside, just like if this were negative 64 to the 1/3, then we would have negative, the 64 would go here, and the root would go here, right? So that's the same thing, but that's not what that's not what we did. So we get 29 times the cube root of x. All right, so if you have any questions, please ask. Come into class with those questions. All right, so yesterday I gave you a to the negative n is equal to 1 over a to the n, right? So this is saying that even if it's a negative fraction, a rational exponent, then we're going to do the exact same thing. So go ahead and hit pause. Make sure you write just, I would say, this part in your notes. Make sure you do that. All right, so now let's do some practice. So we have 81 to the negative 3/4. Well, we know how to rewrite that. We're going to make it positive, so we're going to get 1 over 81 to the 3/4. And then we're going to rewrite that with our root. So we get 1 over 81 to the 1/4 cubed, which gives us the 4th root of 81 cubed. The 4th root of 81 is 3, and then 3 cubed is 27. So then that's our final answer, because it's asking us to evaluate. So we're going to do the same thing here. We have 36 to the negative 3/2. That's going to be equal to 1 over, because it's in the numerator. If it's negative in the numerator, we move it to the denominator. If it's negative in the denominator, we move it to the numerator. And remember, the power belongs to whatever it's touching, and these are touching the whole base. So we're going to rewrite that as 1 over 36 to the 1/2 cubed, which gives us 1 over the square root of 36 cubed, which is the square root of 36 is 6. And we have 6 cubed, so 1 over 216. So this one, we learned that if we have a power with parentheses, it goes to everything inside of it. So this is going to go to both the numerator and the denominator. So we're going to end up with 64 to the negative 3/2 over 25 to the negative 3/2. Now, I have to make these powers positive, so I'm going to move this one up and this one down. So then we end up with 25 to the 3/2 over 64 to the 3/2. Now, I'm going to jump because I think we can, if you need to write this step out, you would write it, but I'm going to just say the square root of 25 cubed over the square root of 64 cubed, which is 5 cubed and 8 cubed, because remember, if I wrote it this way, this means this is going to go here and here. So I'm cubing both of them, so I end up with 125 over 512. If you have any questions, please let me know. All right, now this is saying that rule that we were using, so if we look at this last one, so we'll look at the 25 to the 3/2. So this one would be 25, my A is 25, and we'll say 3/2. That would be equal to 25 to the 1/2 to the 3rd power. But this is saying it also could equal 25 to the 3rd power all to the 1/2, right? So that makes sense, because when you take a power to a power, we're going to get 25 to the 1/2 times 3 over 1, because it's a whole 3, and that gives us 3/2, which is right there. Or we're going to get this one right here would be 25 to the 3 over 1 times 1/2, which again would be 3/2. So it's just saying it's multiplication, and because it's multiplication, we can write it either way. We have to decide what's going to help us solve, but that's why we have this rule. And then this one is just saying all of the same thing, that this right here is exponential. So exponential has a power, and then both of these right here are radical form. So that's basically what you need to get from those notes there. So make sure you write this down, make sure you write this down. All right, now we're going to convert back and forth. So 19 to the 1/2, well, my root is 2, and this goes underneath my radical, and then I raise that to the first power. So I end up with 2, or the square root of 19 to the first power, which is just the square root of 19. And then we're going to do the exact same thing. So my root is 4, because remember, roots are closest to the ground. Roots are at the bottom of a tree. Roots are at the bottom of a plant. So roots are the bottom of the fraction. So then we get the 4th root of 11 to the 3rd power, and we actually can't go any further. There is a perfect 4th root, so we're just going to leave it right there. Now again, this is one of those times the 2/3 only belongs to the x. So just like in that warm-up question, it only belongs. So I'm going to worry about this on the outside, and then this goes underneath my radical, and then this tells me what power I'm taking it to, and that's my root. So it's the cubed root. So the cubed root of x to the 2nd power times 14. So this is exponential, and then this is radical. That's what we're doing. We're going from exponential to radical. Okay? So now we have exponential again. This is a binomial, and I know I have 2 terms because there's a minus sign in between them. And remember, terms are broken out by pluses and minuses. So I'm going to deal with this one first. So this one would be, okay, I have a problem. So the 5 is going to go on the outside of the radical, and the x is going to go on the inside. On this one, both the 2x are going to go on the inside of the radical. So then we end up with 5 times the 5th root of x cubed, that's what this says, minus the 5th root of 2x cubed. So that's the difference between those two. That's knowing what goes on the inside and what goes on the outside. All right, so now we have another one. Oh, but this is negative, and we got to use that new rule. So this is negative, and it would be over 1. So then I'm going to move this to the denominator. So we end up with 1 over positive 5/7, and then we can rewrite that as the 7th root of x to the 5th power. Okay, so now we have parentheses, or over the power belongs to everything inside of the parentheses. So then we're just going to get the cubed root of x squared plus y squared. So make sure you do that. If you have any questions, please ask. All right, so now we're going to go this way. Now we're in radical form. So this is radical. And we want to go to exponential. Okay, so this is going to be, so my root is 2. So my base is 37. My root is 2, and this is to the 1st power, so I'm going to do 1/2, which is here. I'll hit pause and erase that. So we have 37 to the 1/2, and we're done. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one. So we have the 4th root. So the 4th root we're going to get, so the 9 is the base, the root is 4, and the power is 8. Well, 8 over 4 can actually simplify to 9 squared. I know what 9 squared is. That's 81. So that is exactly what we're doing. If you have any questions, let me know. You should be able to get a little bit further in your homework. Let me know if you have any questions. Remember, the homework part 2 is going to be due on Monday night. So make sure you get all these notes in there. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day. See you all tomorrow.